sure you'll be pleased to know that the council at the last meeting approved another round of sidewalk improvements.
Hey, good.
And we also got a grant for another street to be paved, so
Great.
we're working on it.
Yay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well,
Just be careful leaving the building.
yes. Riding back home to Bethel Point.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. A few weeks ago, some of the city employees, including fire chief, was at my house. They were having biscuits and gravy. And the fireman jumped up like something was wrong with the biscuits and gravy and ran out the door. And they said, "We got something big." And Josh, our fire chief, is here. Would you like to brief the council on what that was? And then I've got a letter from the mayor of Versailles and from Woodford County Judge. You probably already received. I just got a copy of it. What you guys did.
So, like the mayor said, we were enjoying some biscuits and gravy. It was really good. Best I've ever had, I'll just tell you. But no, I got a phone call that there was a large fire in Versailles, and that we call it BERT. It's a BERT response, was the Bluegrass Emergency Response Team was activated, and they put out a call for ladder trucks to respond to Versailles. So I called over there while we were at the mayor's house and spoke to their dispatch and their fire chief, and he said, "If you've got a crew, I need help." So we, right here, shot down, and Greg Gibson, he's out of town tonight, but we shot down to the fire station real quick and loaded up on a fire truck and went to Versailles, and got to Versailles at about 8:30 in the morning and didn't get back till almost 5 o'clock that night. So it was a large fire. It was a hot fire, and there was a lot of work. But we were glad that we had the equipment and the means necessary to be able to help a neighboring city out. So it was pretty awesome.
I'd like to read one of these. The other one says basically the same. But recognition of heroism to the Wilmore Fire Department, Woodford County Fiscal Court, and Judge Executive James Kay proudly presents this recognition of heroism to the members of the Wilmore Fire Department in grateful appreciation for your swift response, courageous service, and steadfast commitment to mutual aid during the historic Wilson's Pool Room fire in Versailles in July of 2026. Your willingness to answer the call without hesitation, stand alongside neighboring firefighters, and provide critical assistance during one of the most significant fires in our community's history exemplifies the highest traditions of fire service. Your professionalism, teamwork, and selfless dedication helped protect lives, preserve property, and supported the City of Versailles Fire Department during an extraordinary emergency. Woodford County is deeply grateful for your service, sacrifice, and unwavering commitment to the communities you so faithfully serve. Presented this 28th day of July. Also got one that you got a copy of from the mayor of Versailles, basically saying the same thing. So on behalf of a grateful town to a grateful department, we thank you. And I believe we have a presentation at this time.
Tonight, I have the privilege of announcing one of our newest businesses in town, and it is Magnolia Hair Salon. Lori, come on up. If you want your family to come on up, they can come too. I know it's a family thing. Welcome, Ethan. It's been a while. Ethan and I used to work together in the city. So, the Magnolia Hair Salon, owned by Lori Stewart, offers hair services for everyone. Services provided are haircuts for men, women, and children, coloring services, perms, hair extensions, facial waxing, hair tinsels, and feathers. Wilmore is home to Lori. She grew up in High Bridge and has always had a dream to open a hair salon in Wilmore. Her goal is to see many returning clients and many new faces enter the studio. She would love to help everyone feel confident and happy about their goals and results. She wants everyone who walks through the doors to feel welcome, comfortable, and right at home. That Magnolia Hair Hair Salon is located at 308 East Main, which for people who've been here for a long time, it's an old Good News building. If you walk inside, it is adorable. You did an amazing job. Ethan, I know you did a lot of work in there.
She dreamed it up.
You just did the
I
work.
just, grunt work,
Good,
yeah.
good. Is there anything you wanna say?
I just wanna say, like, I never imagined how welcome, I would feel in the very first few weeks open. I know Wilmore's always supportive, but I've truly just been, like, amazed, so.
That is
I'm grateful,
fantastic.
so grateful.
Absolutely. So, we, the mayor and the council would like to give you a key to the city. You can have, and then we'd also like to give you a gift certificate to spend on yourselves for all the work you've done.
Thank you.
Go out to dinner, not on the store.
Right.
So,
Thank you.
thank you. And I see you have, more family back here. Do you wanna introduce them real quick?
Start in the back row, that's my Aunt Paula. Beside her is my oldest nephew, Weston. He has a younger brother that couldn't be here tonight, but his name is Dalton. And then in the blue, that's my younger sister, Robin, and her oldest child, Cameron. So they're all very important to me.
Awesome. Well, thank you for choosing.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
You can go and take that and go buy dinner now.
Right.
And you don't have to sit through this meeting if you do that or not.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, our first item of business is the approval of minutes from July 20. Has it been circulated to you? Are there any corrections to be noted by the council? So moved to approval. Second discussion. All in favor, please indicate by aye. Any opposed? And I think we're passing over property taxes tonight.
Yeah, we still don't have certified numbers from the PBA, so she said, she told Donna this morning that hopefully sometime this week.
We do sense an urgency with that at the next meetings though.
Yep.
To be able to get that approved by the council and the bills out. So those will be,
As soon as I get the numbers and get the calculations, I will email those out so that the first time you see them hopefully will not be the next council meeting.
okay. Gonna move to, new item of business, inspection of the water drainage issues and professional findings, and we've got a very distinguished firm here tonight, GRW Engineers. So I'm not sure who's the spokesperson or who wants to lead. Looks like all three of them. Got three of them.
The mayor asked us to talk to the city council about the sanitary sewer project that was just installed. Evidently, there's some confusion that may have impacted the recent storm event, the flooding that occurred in the Lexington Avenue area. The quick answer to it is it did not. The sanitary sewer system and the stormwater collection and conveyance system are two separate systems. They're not interconnected at all. The installation of the sanitary sewer system, part of that process was we had to get an encroachment permit from KYTC. KYTC owns, I guess, for lack of a better word, the stormwater systems along Lexington Avenue and Main Street there. And part of that encroachment permit was to ensure that we did not touch their stormwater system, and we did not. We had to cross it twice. Those were done with directional bores. And, you know, there was nothing that the sewer project did to impact the storm. If anything, it served as a relief valve during the flooding. I've seen some videos and actually see stormwater going into the manholes for the sanitary sewer. If you've got any specific questions about the sewer project, we'd be happy to answer them, but there's nothing that the city did with the sanitary project that impacted the sewer. The bottom line is it was roughly a 5-inch event.
Yeah, approximately 1,000-year storm event, which happens, it's like a 0.01% chance or 0.1% chance, something like that. It's very rare. It was an unfortunate
in the storm sewer system, you were telling me the KYTC designs to the 100-year or?
Yeah, the 100 years max, so a 1,000-year event is unheard of and very unlikely, but it happened in this area.
Yeah, and then there's no way to build and you're not required to build storm collection systems to size to catch a 1,000-year flood, like you were saying, it would take up the entire time. There's nothing, it was just a freak storm, is all I can think of.
Very heavy localized event.
Yeah.
A lot of water in a very short amount of time with nowhere really to go. It runs off buildings and parking lots and sidewalks, and usually all collects in one place, as you probably saw out on Main Street.
But Mayor, with all that being said, you and I and Nick talked at a meeting, and the city expressed some concern about maybe looking at what you have. GRW, that's part of this is Alan Lentz.
Yeah.
He's our stormwater.
We do stormwater studies regularly to kind of see why the event might have flooded the area. If you guys are interested in something like that, we'd be happy to look into it.
And what that involves is we do what's called a condition assessment. We measure what you got, look at it, see what kind of shape it is in. Do some stormwater modeling, and then come up with some alternatives that would help improve your conveyance system. Anything else?
We'd also track down funding options. Obviously, you don't want the city to foot the bill, and there's great resources out there. They take time and commitment. I think we've already begun to look at, but just very preliminary.
The other issue too is the Lexington Avenue Main Street, like I said, that's KYTC's facility, so there would have to be some cross coordination with KYTC. And be happy to facilitate that and supervise that for you. That's.
We have some citizens that were impacted, that are here. We've invited them here because you were coming, so if any questions, to be directed to the council or to the engineers. Yeah, we need your name for the record.
James Skinner, I don't buy Bruce Point Way. This happens 2-3 times a year. We got flooded big time that time, and then a week later we got flooded again. Storm drains are not put in the right place at the end of the street. There should be 4 there, there's only 3, but I'm down like this, so I get it here, 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 and here. So all I gotta do is get a pointed train, and I get 3 feet in the house. I've got as much as 6 feet in the house. My backyard, you look, it's destroyed right now. I understand maybe even FEMA's gonna be involved in this one, so that's our understanding, but Woods Point Way is not designed correctly. The pipe's only this big around, and I've been told it's been inspected, but I've been watching this big rock that's still in the storm drain, it's still there, so if we're inspecting it, where we're supposed to do that, get that rock out of there. So I'm not pointing no fingers. If that rock falls over, then I'm big time gonna get flooded on a small rain. But my kids now panic as soon as it rains. We're out there, we lost every bit of our clothes, everything, basically, everything else. It's a walk-in, fully, I'm not gonna lack words here, it's livable,
Finish up.
there you go, thank you. After 6 times of this, major ones, I've been out there, I have built berms, I have put things on the door, it's a walkout basement. Well, it's actually not a basement, it's downstairs. And the first time this happened, it blew the door completely, casing it all in. And they were nice enough to put a grate behind us. Well, the grate is this high off the ground. So we're already this much water, but what happens is the storm drains plug up. One in front of my house goes way over, and not just a stream comes down the yard, a river comes down the yard. It's already destroyed, my HVAC is out. I can go on and on. I got some bags put on the garbage can right now that we gave up on, we can't do nothing with. And it's too small. I had all my stuff in my backyard, was all the way over the tree line. Up in the road, that was doing everything, I had things under people's cars. My kids play back there with toys, we got the very fences from the kid that's been underwater in price. And, it actually floated. last house built there, I know it was built in a valley. But my neighbor got flooded also. Now, there's two floods there. That's the main one. At any rate, all right, there's some on the left side of the house, the water will come down. He flooded me from the backyard, about this deep, just on one side. Well, the builder offered to put in a free drain, if that would work for free, but nobody wanted to do that, which would have eliminated that. But to put that drain this high off the ground, I'm out there, this deep in the water, middle of the night, with a shovel, with that meeting, keeping the drain clear. And what was really sad was I seen all the water out of the backyard, and I had to get out and go to the house, and let this much out of the house. And there's things I'll never get back. They're gone. I got old quilts, they're on. That's what I was doing this afternoon, that needs to be looked at. It's way too small. You got 3, there should be 4. As a matter of fact, when the road comes down, there should be 2 up there. Dig my yard up, I don't care. Put me a pipe in my yard, I don't care. I've done everything there is to do, except buy a 2-foot pipe and stuff there and let it go back to that drain. It look ridiculous. That's where I'm at for next. But nobody seems to care. You know, it's twice a year, it's always in July, it seems like. Then the ones in the winter are even more fun, when you freeze your butt off. And I'm too old for this, and I know our drywall's gonna have to be replaced again. That's a lot of water, it didn't sit in there long, but it did get into the walls, so. I mean, I'm not blaming you all, but I just want somebody to look at that pipe.
Right.
I have looked at it, it's this big around, and I know, I'm not talking just the storm the other day, what, 2 weeks later? Same thing. It didn't take that one 5 minutes, plug up and here it comes. And we're down there boarding the door up, and luckily we were smart enough that time, we got enough stuff in front of the door. So, give me some sanitization, give me something, I'm tired of it. The yard is destroyed. I'm too old to be shoveling all this rock. It actually exposed my sewer system. Right up out of my house, and broke a hole in it, which I had to fix. It was, I agree with you, it was a bad one. But that second one, should have done that quick. This happens at least twice a year, at least. I got 2 bedrooms down there. First time it happened, one of my sons was in the bed, it floated him. You come home from work, and you got the entire fire department down there trying to pump out the water, and you wonder what's going on, they went over your fence, which is 6 feet high, I mean, what the fuck? Then they ask you to go in there and turn the breakers off, the water up to your waist. Like, y'all retarded, I'm not doing that. But that was it, it's still happening. So if you could please do something about it, me and my neighbor would appreciate it. People around us all have this cross basis. By me doing what I do, saving the house behind me, but they don't care, they're quiet people. But me and her, she lost everything, and she is a widow, and I had to help her get everything out of her basement and get rid of it. And some of the things she got rid of shouldn't have got, should never have happened. But we sit there with the cameras on everything, watching. As soon as it rains, my kids panic. We all start watching the cameras, we look out, it's always at night. Here it comes, here it comes. I have no mulch in the yard no more, I'm not even gonna remulch. We do Halloween for the town, we're not gonna do it this year because everything got destroyed. So, no candy in my house this year. So, but if somebody could just look at it. The emergency management actually did come out and look, he looked at it. I had, something to see after going to look at it also. But,
Jeff, is this the one, is Jeff still back there? Is this the one that you took us to look at?
yes, sir. Yeah. That's, you know what we're talking about?
Yeah. Jeff took 2 or 3 of us down there. I don't think we know what to do, is that right, Jeff?
No, it's not a quick fix, I don't think,
You
no,
can
nor
get
cheap,
money tied
so
up.
I think we are, that's why we brought these guys on, because they're the
Right.
experts to tell us what our our options are.
The condition assessment they were talking about, so with planning and zoning, there should be some kind of record of, part of that, when somebody submits to develop a subdivision, they have to do stormwater calculations and size everything. So that should be there, so we can look at what you got, and then we'll run something like HECRAS or some kind of.
We got different stormwater models that we can put together to kind of see how bad the flooding is in that area.
For different rain
It's
events.
just me and the neighbor.
And then we'll do some interviews, but long story short, we can size it for half-inch rain to the 1,000-year flood, and then make a recommendation on what size conveyance system you need in there.
You do a drain will actually 1 inch, 2 inch will actually
Okay.
flood on one side, a common drain will flood the other side. There's no drains or nothing, if it comes out of the ground. I believe my driveway's got a big cavern, having this hole under it. The water's going somewhere under the driveway. So this thing is destroying a lot of things.
But the city has advised us on it, and you're definitely on the list, so that will be part of it. I tell you what, after this, if we get your name and number, we get it from the city.
I think my wife even tried to contact y'all may have an email from her.
We didn't put it in, but we're here to help fix it.
I think we had a question. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So in regards to the Becca Burton, proud resident of Wilmore, our city is 150 years old, and I would say it's safe to assume some of our piping is about the same age, if not slightly younger, but around the range where it needs to be replaced. And so I think this is more a question for the city versus you, but it could go either way. So when you guys were doing the downtown, you made it really clear that you weren't looking at stormwater, you were only doing sewer while you ripped apart the road. And then at the Wilmore, or in the Wilmore newsletter, you wrote about how that project had been on the books planned for the last 5 or 10 years, and it kept getting put off because you didn't want to disrupt the businesses and out of concern for traffic flow for our community, which is a viable concern, and we appreciate the forethought of that. The question is, was there insight and pre-planning to, while you are already disrupting business and you already have the road ripped up, to either utilize a community development block grant, the CDBG, or some other type of city funding to do the full project at one time? Because now we know that area in front of those businesses flood all the time, whether it's a 1,000-year flood record, or 100, or 50, or every 2 to 3 weeks in July. Completely understand. And other residents have had flooding across the board as well. So one, my question is twofold. One, was that even a consideration for the city? And if it was, to do it all at one time, why didn't it get done? And then two, can you speak to a proactive plan to address some of this flooding that we're having across the city in neighborhoods, at other places, all throughout Wilmore? What is the proactive plan? And you might have one, you might not. Is there a plan to have a plan if we don't have a plan?
That's why these 3 gentlemen are here tonight, to begin that plan.
So have they been contracted to look at our city as a whole, or to redo that spot again, which will
The
now
whole
require?
city, we drove across the city. It's a comprehensive plan. Yes, there are certain areas that are bigger than others, but we need to address the whole thing, take priorities first, and fix those, yes.
As far as your first question, the first point, did they consider the storm with the sanitary?
Yeah.
You gotta keep in mind that the storm is KYTC, the sanitary is the city, so no, we had to avoid KYTC altogether. We had to get a permit saying we won't touch, or it's not.
But legally, the city can work with you as an outside entity and KYCT in tandem, correct? It's possible legally.
And that's what we're gonna do moving forward. It will take a joint effort to, one, get KYTC to recognize the problem, two, to foot the bill for it, because the storm would be expensive. And that's gonna take some coordination between the city and KYTC. As a matter of fact, and you're correct on the age of it, so there's a main, what is it, a U-shaped?
Yeah, front.
Channel that runs through the center of town that we had to bore under.
Yeah.
We actually got down in there and you can tell it's WPA, hand stacked, you know, and that's just, you know, it's time to upgrade it, but we've got to work with KYTC to do that.
So for that, does our city contract you to then, you are communicating with your expertise with the other entity? Or does the city have Mr. Jeff, who's my favorite person ever, to also work with them and make a unit? Basically, who's getting the work done and what's a time frame? And is the city pouring unlimited funds into them? I would assume that there's some type of contract that we obviously aren't the richest city in the nation, but we do have some funding to fix this because it's impacting so many of our residents and our local businesses that struggle in and of themselves to survive at certain points.
I know it's dangerous to start talking, but I will respond. My parents had that business where Solomon's Porch is, a dime store there. It was torn down because it flooded. There was no businesses there, period. We should never have built back a building where Solomon's Porch is, but that was done.
Correct.
And now we have to deal with that. There was some flooding on the building on the corner of Spring Street and Lexington, like there was this time, but never like Solomon's is. But if you look at it, the door is strictly sidewalk level. So that building should not have been put back, and you're correct. Most of our infrastructure is 1930s and 40s. The town was 2000, and there's no huge major buildings and huge parking lots like we drove around and saw. There has got to be more parking in this town than any town of this size in the country. And all that is not taking water, it's running water. And so that's why we have to have more than this, and have already begun to look at grants, have already begun to search that and send those in. And they're in $4 and $5 million increments to do what needs to be done. So this is not gonna be a $50,000 project, that we're talking about. It's a major infrastructure. So yes, they're the experts on this. We're not. Jeff will do and work with them, and has been. We rode the same truck with them and looked at that. But I think it's time to look at the whole city, and in particular Woods Point. We knew when that was built, some of that was in a floodplain. But we took a 70-acre farm and turned it into 500 homes. So that's why we had the problem. We didn't have that problem 50 years ago. And so we have to address, now we have, not the problem, but we have those homes. How do you deal with that? And apparently that one retention area is not enough, that's behind there. It's the piping getting to the retention area. But we did build, Leonard was on the council when Asbury started building Talbot. If you look at Talbot and Kinlaw, you have retention areas that hold the water back. That's what they're designed to do. And they do it very effectively. It ran all the way full. And now we have Woods Lane backing up one more street. And we're gonna have to address that. We did. We've met with the builders up there. So it starts at the top end and goes clear to the bottom. But there's more water going. The Estes Auto Place has been there 60 years, but it had never flooded them out. So there's just simply more water coming than any pipes would have taken, or any branches would have taken, or any creeks would have taken. So we've talked about holding tanks like Lexington does, where you actually hold the water, you pump the water, you hold it, or retention. But some way we've got to restrain it, that it's not all released down into a bottom, which is what Main Street and Lexington Avenue is at one time. So it's obviously bigger than any of us are smart enough for, but surely all of us are smarter than one of us or two of us. So that's why we brought in one of the largest firms around to begin to look at that. No, don't have them under contract exactly to do this until we know what we're going to look at doing. But we are looking at doing that.
What we're doing, with the city right now, what we're trying to do is scope what needs to be done, because in order for them to select an engineer, whether it be us or whomever, you need to know what you're hiring for. Okay, and it's just been 2 weeks we've been looking at it, but we're trying to get a scope. We will give that scope and our proposal to the city, and then take it from there. It's like the mayor said though, it's expensive.
Well, Well, and will that scope include priority under, I guess however you prioritize it, priority levels based on either cost or based on the most usage or based on whatever the other things are? Cause I mean, you're right, we did develop on it, and if we are responsible developers, which I love to believe that our community is, then it's then our responsibility to make sure that the infrastructure matches the development that we've chosen to do.
Right.
So,
Yeah, the scope is not gonna prioritize anything. The scope is going to say that you need to prioritize it based on the assessment of the entire area. Okay.
It's pretty easy to go and see where people are getting flooded.
Right.
And prioritize who's getting flooded. And then back it up. You know, if one house is getting flooded, maybe we learned one last week. It was the elevation of the yard, and it was the grading of the yard is going into his basement. And so when the subdivision was laid out, water was not hitting that, but they took out the drainage ditches when they did the grading work. So you gotta fix that, but that got fixed, that was one fix. But we have a bigger issue with, you know, from Fitch's, Leonard has swept water for 60 years.
I see deeper, remember when they put the barrel at the Bailey's
Yeah.
in the Brandon Gulf Station?
Yeah, it's been deeper than it was
It was above my knee.
in the history of Wilmore, much deeper than it was. Hard to believe, but, where Ed Rainwater lived over on Morrison, in that corner, that was a river over there a few years ago. And so, but we have had more water of recent than normal. And thankfully, we've lost no human life. Other communities right next to us have, so, we've been blessed that we've just lost property at this point. The property's valuable, and that has to be addressed too. Okay, right here.
I'm Charlie Harold, and I, own Dear Charlie Designs, and I have a business here in town, and my husband Kyle and I have been here for about 20 years, and, we are really appreciative of all of the help that everybody has given during all of this, but we purchased the building next to Solomon's, and we are currently sitting at a considerable loss. And, the intention was to buy the building to invest in in my business and move that in there. And specifically in the community of Wilmore. I've rented a space downtown for several years now to test, can I invest in Wilmore? Because that's where I wanna be. And it has thankfully gone pretty good, but we put a lot on the line to invest in that building. After this flood, we're at about 25,000 in loss. We literally had just paid for a brand new HVAC unit, a electrical panel, and other things, and it's completely gone. And we were already doing some things to just get the water away, but that's like from water coming from your own property. But now after this, it's prompted me to kind of dig further and go, hey, you know, like, was this a problem before? And I have found out from the previous owner and the person who had, worked on repairs for the building, that he knew of a time in the late 90s that it flooded, the early 2000s, 2008, I think is what he said, and then 2015. And so it's actually happening quite often. We try to do our due diligence before purchasing the building, ask 90 days to close, pay for extra inspections, ask all the questions we could think of, but it was never told to us that anything like this had ever happened. And so I guess I'm appreciative that you guys are already looking into grants. I'm hopeful that FEMA will help and allow us to take small business loans, but this is just such a considerable loss for us, and, we're trying to do what we can to fix what we can, but like, if we can't stop the water from getting to us, I don't know what to do. You've probably seen the moat around the building. I called it that just because you gotta laugh to keep from crying, because the second flood filled that completely up. We're just, yeah, we're weary, but we're hopeful that, Wilmore will help figure out how to not have this happen anymore with the assessment. But it's made us timid, like, what do we do? But anyways, I just wanted to speak to say that, ours is the building that you were talking about on the corner, and we're grateful for any help that can come of it.
I lived on the corner next to that as a boy. I've seen that building flood for 75 years. Not like it did the other day. I've never seen what you got on big flood.
It was, 6 feet deep in the cellar.
Yep.
And I was told that it had gotten that deep before.
I don't know that, but it's in a flood zone.
But, I learned this after purchasing, and we did get insurance, but we were told it is not in a flood zone, so therefore we were not eligible to get flood insurance, so we didn't have flood insurance.
I probably was incorrect in saying that. It's where it's prone to flood, I should say.
Yeah, but also, like, we found all of this out after investing in, like, everything. And,
Emma, I thank you for being here, and thank you for investing in Wilmore, and I hope we can fix your problem. That'd be my hope.
thank you.
And I'm
Is
gonna-
there something that you think we can be doing now that we're not?
No, you guys have been incredibly helpful. With Bid, we want kind of the same thing, the assessment to figure out what can be done.
Applying for grants, anything that could help, because if this I don't think we can handle it yet. And even now, it's a struggle. I'm really hoping that FEMA will, count it. I think there's like a $250,000 collective total that.
Threshold.
Yeah. I've spoken with a few other people that have told what their damages were, and I think we could probably meet that, but it does take a lot of work to collect that information, and I don't know how to, like, is there someone we could give that information to on the council?
I'm gonna turn to the person there with
Oh,
his
hi.
hand.
Christopher Montgomery, Director of Planning and Zoning for Jefferson County in the city of Wilmore. First, I wanted to say, Wilmore is a community within the NFIP, the National Flood Insurance Program, with FEMA. Anyone can get flood insurance. It might not be offered through your private insurance lenders, but if you contact the NFIP, flood insurance is available for anyone, no matter where your property is. It's typically cheaper if you're not in a flood zone, but it still will cover the flooding that your typical insurance won't cover. So that there is insurance out there for that. And then in regards to collecting information, if we have substantial damage assessments, where we determine if there is substantial damage, those get submitted to FEMA. Typically, we just do those for properties that are in a floodplain to determine if they meet the threshold that requires existing structures to meet our current floodplain ordinances, such as elevation. But it is a quicker and easier way than some others to collect that information, to provide it to FEMA. It would all get sent from my office to the Kentucky Division of Water, who would then forward it to FEMA. So if you want to reach out to my office tomorrow, I can get that process started for you. And if you know anyone else in the community that's been damaged by the flooding, I've had, I think I've just had one gentleman from Wilmore come to my office. I think sometimes planning and zoning is forgotten in Wilmore, but we are there and we do have some things that can help. So yeah, just let anyone that's had damage know to reach out to my office. I can work with them to get those numbers submitted to the Water and FEMA are currently working on updating the floodplain maps for the lower Kentucky watershed, which we are a part of. So flooding like this, while not beneficial in the short term, can be beneficial in creating the new maps so that we know the areas that when a Solomon's Porch is being rebuilt, it might be in an identified floodplain in the next iteration of maps. So we know that it needs to be elevated, or we know what needs to be done to mitigate the flooding and reduce it. I guess think of it as a way to unfortunately invest in the community in the future, that it might help people later, even if it doesn't help them now, that we can use the data that's coming from this for those maps. It's not a happy sentiment, but it's true.
Anyone we haven't heard from?
Just a question to council, so forgive me, but have we talked with planning and zoning about updating some rules on stormwater drains, since as we look at more development and trying to help make sure
that, so we do currently have provisions both in the zoning ordinance and the subdivision regulations that when new development occurs, the peak discharge of stormwater off the property as it would sit as, say, a field, has to be mitigated by stormwater improvements that would be put in, which may be pipes or maybe detention and retention basins. So with the newer developments, the 5 houses that get added to Talbot a year, we are looking at it with that. I can't say what they were doing in the 80s and 90s, unfortunately, but we do have some provisions already in place. The state also has provisions regarding runoff that has to be complied with. So it's not something that's non-existent, but it is something that we may need to take a look at to make sure that it's being applied appropriately and is understandable.
Hey, Chris, without getting too far in the weeds, the brand new section of Talbot is where we're having a problem, one of the places.
That was the one house that was graded incorrectly, is that?
2 of them already.
So when the subdivisions get put in, they are designed to spec. We don't, unfortunately, at this point in time, and this may be something we need to add in, regulate the grading of the individual lots when the houses are built. So a lot of times you will see, if it's not a designated drainage easement, which along the front and the back and the sides, most of them are, designated drainage easements, but people will want their landscape in a certain way, or they will, want to extend their deck that they don't tell us they're extending it. So that is a regulation I've talked with my office previously that I think we need in place, is to regulate the grading on the individual lots to make sure it stays as the subdivision was designed. But at the current time, when the individual builders and homeowners regrade their lots, it's not anything we have provisions to stop them from doing.
I think in this particular situation, Chris Horn met with the 2 property owners, and last week they all got a lot of dirt and have resolved that particular issue. And both homeowners are apparently happy with how that got resolved. Not happy, but it got resolved. Changed their landscaping a whole lot. Anyone else?
Is there approval for the assessment already? And if not, what is the timeline for getting one? And if so, what is the timeline for beginning it? And how long will it take?
That they'll have to make a proposal to the council for that, the council then would adopt that to begin that assessment.
And we're scoping that out right now.
They're doing-
We've been on it since the day it happened. We gotta hunt down funding sources, collect all the information like this.
The scope is so we can identify, and it is what it is, what what the engineering costs are gonna be, okay? Because it is what it is. So we have to discern how big a project is it. That's what we're doing right now. And then based on that, we'll be able to tell the city that you're looking at 300 man hours, or $10 or $100 for engineering fees. And then they can make a decision on.
You're hired.
Yeah. And then, you know, and I don't speak for the city, but there are thresholds that the city can, you know, if it's over a certain number of dollars, then they gotta advertise for professional services. You can't just go out and willy-nilly spend $30,000. So that may be what we get into. But right now, we're just trying to figure out what's the totality of the project as far as engineering fees, study, construction, all that stuff.
What is the timeline for getting a proposal in?
We'll try to have it to you before when's the next city council meeting? Okay, I think we could probably get something rough and ready for that.
Are we paying you for the scope, or you're just doing that?
No,
because you're nice?
I mean, we've worked with the city for a long time. This is something we're just trying to help you all, so you can make an informed decision on how you want to proceed with it, is what I'm thinking, Mayor.
I like your thinking.
Our hope is that by doing that, you might give us a look, but no, that's something.
We have a great history with this company, for a long time, with water plants, sewer plants.
And we do the water and sewer, but this is and that part is GRW. We do a lot of storm water for a lot of.
Yeah, a lot of little cities around the state or big cities, we do a lot of MSD work, SD1 work. A lot of similar cases to this, actually. We get a lot of these projects regularly.
So the storm's kind of out of my wheelhouse, but there's part of GRW that's all we do, so.
Do y'all ever make any recommendations for the properties themselves?
I mean, you know, yes, we can. Yeah, that can
I'm
be part of it.
specifically asking about Mark.
Yeah, you're in the
Something
main
we do.
corridor, whereas you know, we've got to assess, there was spot flooding all over the city, there was some tremendous flooding downtown, all that's got to be looked at, I don't know that we would make a recommendation to you as a property owner, it would be to the city on how to handle the stormwater.
That's fair, I just, from like a perspective of like, I'm timid to continue to invest in this building if that's gonna happen again. We were at drywall, like, ready to roll, and it is completely stopped, and I'm paying rent I'm paying for the mortgage of this, and rent in my own studio simultaneously, and it's killing me, because I don't know if I'm doing the right water management stuff that's on my property, so that I could buy another HVAC unit for my building and put it in the crawl, or am I gonna have to spend a ton of extra money in addition to the new unit to put it up in between an old roof and a pitch roof? And so I'm just going, if you tell us anything, we are grateful.
Aaron, can I recognize you?
Yes, I'm Erin Gibson, Tim Gibson with Solomon's Porch, Marytown.
Marketplace at Fitchburg.
Yes. But I just wanted to second and kind of get it on the record that this issue is not just a 1,000-meter cross. It's multiple times a year, and I know I'm being redundant, but it really needs to be spoken, and I wish that there were some other people here that would second that. It's actually a little offensive to hear that, because it has happened so many times, and at a very similar magnitude. Now, the river that was coming through the parking lot of the grocery store, that was unique to how long we've been here, but in 20 years, we're talking at least 20 floods, and probably about 5 to 6 that reached the amount of water that we had inside the building. So I think I would just like for everyone to kind of consider that this has been a long-standing issue. This is not necessarily even environmental. I think that was one of the comments that when we came to city council the first time about this, that this was an environmental problem. If it is, we have to adjust. That's kind of the long and short of it. But it is ruining businesses. And I feel really bad for Charlie, because she walked into and her husband, sorry. All of that. It really needs to be addressed, and we were hoping to have that addressed many years ago when we came the first time, and I'm pretty disappointed that it wasn't, and it continues to happen. it was more just for the record that I wanted to speak.
Yeah, I mean, just redundancy, I know, but how many times did you all mention 1,000-year flood, 100-year flood? Now it's twice to 3 times a year. And Mr. Mayor, you said that even you remember when your parents, you know, had the store and it flooded. So this is not a 1,000-year flood situation.
In regards to that, FEMA is trying to, make sure that the language is changed. The 100-year flood is actually the 0.1%, chance flood, so there's a 0.1% chance every year of the 100-year flood happening. And I forgot your name, Mr. Stormwater guy.
Alan Lentz.
Alan, and he was given a percentage for the 1,000-year flood, so it's not actually saying that these floods only occur every 100 years, every 1,000 years. There is this percentage chance that this will occur every year. Just to address the 100, 1,000, I know that doesn't help, and I know that, you know, some of this is emotional and I'm just putting out numbers, and I apologize for that, but, I just wanted to clarify there.
I do have a question. I've been in contact with Kyle and, Charlie about all this, and we're getting reports that FEMA isn't helping them, and then now maybe FEMA is helping them, so, like, they've gotta recoup $25,000. And I don't know, like, I feel horrible for you guys, like, it is terrible. And I don't know as a city if we can do that, if, you know, planning and zoning can do that. I've referred them to Kentucky, the Jessamine County Management. But so they did get flood insurance after the fact. Correct me if I'm wrong, and then they said it was a one-time thing. So if it ever floods again, then they can, like.
No, well, there was a part of the policy that would allow for it to count as a sum total fail.
Okay.
But, and we're grateful for that, the net difference of the deductible and our premium going up over the years is about $1,800. So, I mean, I'm grateful for $1,800, it's better than zero, but that's how much insurance is able to.
Cause we really want you all to stay and open your business, but we have to do something.
Yeah.
Chris, I don't know, I guess I'm asking you like what we can do.
I'm hoping we can get some kind of.
Yeah.
We don't have any money that would do anything for individual property owners. I apologize, I think that's the wrong approach, to help individuals, because once you help one individual, you help all individuals, or it's not fair and consistent. I think the approach that the city's taking now with DRW to try and mitigate as a city, figure out a proposal there is the appropriate, approach, and even that may not make the issue solved for every individual property owner. That is the unfortunate fact of it. There may be additional steps that individual property owners have to take. But I do know it's not within planning and zoning's budget to, do anything as far as individual properties are concerned.
But they can come and actually meet with you, just like another business owner did here in town, and see how they can recoup some of the money. Maybe.
So the only thing, which business owner met with me previously?
I don't know, you said somebody else from Wilmore came.
Oh, no, they just brought in, they just applied, they're actually in the floodplain, and they applied for a floodplain permit to do repairs to their house. But then they, also filled out, the information for the substantial damage report, so that there was not considered substantially damaged. But so that can be sent to the Division of Water and FEMA. So.
We need that for what you're saying.
Yeah, I would honest.
Cause I've reached out to the state, Lori gave me a name, and this person has not ever responded to me, nor answered my phone calls, so I kinda, you know, they don't answer emails and don't answer phone calls, I don't even, you know, I keep trying. I was giving her the benefit of the doubt, maybe she was on vacation, so, I'll keep trying to call her though, email her, see if she'll.
Can I suggest that we ask you to bring back a report in 2 weeks with a recommendation of how to start?
Absolutely.
And focus primarily on, if you have to look at B or A or B, Lexington Avenue, Main Street, come together, and Woods Point.
Absolutely.
And we'll take a look at it in 2 weeks. I don't, sounds like a kick in the can, but it's nothing's gonna solve here tonight. Nobody's got a checkbook to.
And a lot goes into it. 2 weeks seems like a long time, but they do
Got a
get a
question
lot
up front?
of upfront.
Yes, Mike Lynn, I live at 114 Brookwood Lane. I've had numerous floods in my yard, backyard, up to where I've had to put a sandbag at the back door like the gentleman was talking about. And, Wildwood does not have a drain. It's backed up there, and it comes there, and then it goes over into another gentleman's yard. And then everything comes to my yard, just like this. From other houses there, I'm at the lowest point, and I go out, and I've stood in water up to my knees in my backyard. And I don't know what they can do. I go out there and try to keep the drain going, and I've got pushed down from it too, from the high waters. And I've had a lot of problem about that ever since 25 years here. But I just, I thought, well, it's natural thing. But this one little drain, and this last one that they were talking about, the main sewer drain for water, I didn't realize that it could push so hard that it took the metal part and pushed it out into the street. And I had people that lives close to me, I had to call, tell them to get your son's cars off the street where I live, because it's up to their doors right now. It says get their cars in, because, I've got pictures of it, it's just, runs like a river.
Thank you for your input, and do y'all have any further comments?
We sympathize and we want to be part of the solution, as much as the mayor and all the council does. We're gonna work hard on it, I know they'll work hard on it, but just give us some time and let us get our wheels rolling.
Anything else, other than what we discussed from the council or staff? Yes.
It may seem minor, in fact, it is minor compared to what we've been talking about. But being the editor of the newsletter means that when people get the newsletter and then reply, it's usually to express concern about something that is in the newsletter. So the last two newsletters have had something about the post office, so I'm getting replies about, hey, fix the post office. So I think it's time we fix the post office, and I talked to a gentleman at great length today who's willing to use his connections with Andy Barr. I understand Donna had to get all over the post office just to get them to mow the grass. If people are paying for a post office box up there, they're having to drive to Nicholasville every day to get their mail. They've been told that there'll be no financial compensation for that, which makes less than 0 cents to me if they're paying for something that they're not getting. But I try to get information for the newsletter about what's the plan, and there seems to be less of a plan for that than maybe there does for stormwater. So I don't know what the plan is, but I don't want the plan to end up being Wilmore's post office to permanently close. That's my worry. That there's been so much trouble and they're not getting it done, that the easy solution is just close it.
Okay,
I can't imagine that happening.
I can address that. My son is a post carrier here. So how the whole thing started was, our lovely postmaster, anytime they retire, they do something big to the interior, exterior. He decided that he would replace the floor. When they pulled the floor up, it had asbestos all over the floor. So, he has now retired and is in Florida, so he's not worrying about it at all. They had one person come in that they had hired to do it. What you all don't understand is this property here is owned by a person. It is not owned by the US government, okay? So that person is involved, lives in Florida. So they hired somebody, he came in and said, too big of a job, I can't do it. So they had already moved all of our postal carriers over there. So they're working out of Nicholasville, then they come over here to Liberty Law. So when that person said, no, we're not gonna do it, the US Postal Service had to go to the person who owns it and say, you need to find somebody else. They didn't wanna find somebody else. So they were bickering between the two of them, and they finally found somebody. It was supposed to start in July. My son is now telling me the beginning of August, which is now. They did just hire a postmaster 2 weeks ago. She just started, wonderful person, so they're thrilled about that. So our postal carriers are very frustrated. However, it is a law that if you have a university, college, whatever, in your town, they have to have a post office. So that's a positive thing for us, because we heard rumors for years that there's not. So, it should only take a week once they finally come in. They have hired somebody, so hopefully soon it will happen. I know there's too much information, but that's what's going on.
Who's on first?
Well, so if there's no advantage, and that has been my source of information for the newsletter right there. When I tried to get it someplace else, I couldn't get it, so I called Sharon. Hey, ask Josh where we are in the post office, so I could put that in the newsletter. So she and Josh have been wonderful to give us information, but is there nothing we can do to speed that up or hold somebody accountable? Or?
I think you could make a motion to urge them to forward quickly and have that operational as soon as possible.
Oh, and why it wasn't getting mowed is because they had hired one of the postal carriers to do it. And when they moved over there, they said, we're not paying you, the guy to do it, so it was Nicholasville not hiring somebody to mow the grass.
And that all makes sense, but in the meantime, it's our residents that are paying the consequences
Right.
of all of that. So if sending a letter, if making a phone call would be of any help, I would certainly move that we do that.
Thank you for your motion.
Also,
Thank
I'll
you for your
second.
second. All in favor, please indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Any other reports? Yes, Judy?
It's not a report, actually, but in honor of Wilmore's 150th, Mount Freedom Baptist Church has elected to pray for Wilmore 150 days, starting this month, or this week, actually. And we have a calendar put up, and we have everybody from the senior citizens, which I think is Debbie Friels, which most of you know, all the way down to toddlers, preschoolers signing up for a specific day. And to help them, we put together a bookmark with suggestions to pray for Wilmore. So I'd like to present each one of you with one bookmark.
Thank you, Judy.
That's awesome.
Appreciate their sign on that bulletin board too. Any other reports? Christopher, I'm sorry.
I wasn't gonna stand over here, but I'm gonna stand over.
Please come to the mic.
So, some of the conversation today is about developments and how planning and zoning might handle those. Currently, the City of Wilmore, City of Nicholasville, and Jessamine County are working on our updated comprehensive plan. As part of that plan, the statement of goals and objectives must go through a public hearing at the Planning Commission, who will then recommend approval of the goals and objectives to the relevant legislative bodies. So for the Joint Planning Commission, It'll be the City of Wilmore City Council and the Jessamine County Fiscal Court. The Planning Commission is holding this hearing at our regularly scheduled meeting next Tuesday, August the 11th at 6:30. It will be at the courthouse. It was posted on the Fiscal Court Facebook, and there was a blurb.
It was in the
I say blurb, I wrote a lot of words, but it was in the newsletter. By the little like intake window out there, I've set a copy of the blurb along with a copy of the statement of goals and objectives that's being proposed, if you all would like to pick them up on the way out. There's also a Dropbox that is linked, I believe in the newsletter.
I put that in there too.
And also on the Fiscal Court Facebook post, so you can view them online there. The hearing related to the comprehensive plan will just be about the statement of goals and objectives. We will have other hearings at a later date to discuss the other elements of the plan, including current and future land use maps. But I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware that there was a hearing related to this. That'll be taking place next Tuesday, August 11th. So, that's all.
A couple of our members have been serving on that. Any other reports? Anything else on the floor? Yes.
I have two. One, Ms. Sharon, do you know if the owner of the post office building that lives in Florida would be open to selling the building? And or if yes, I would totally buy it. And I would love the contact information if they are interested in getting rid of a property that they seemingly don't want to fix up and don't care about. So if they're interested, I would love that contact info. And then second, council, thank you so much for the work that you do and the things that are coming out and inviting us out here to listen, and we're always open, and the council is always open to hear. It does seem, I would like to ask that as we're coming into our fall season, which seems crazy to say when it's like 90 degrees outside, but we are coming into our falls and festivals, and we do have a lot of parking lots. We've got a ton of space, and all of our events are super well attended because they're marketed well, people hear about it, we've gained a reputation of putting on really good events. And I would love the council to consider two things and like actively move forward on them. One would be at all of these events when we're bringing in lots of Wilmore residents and outside Wilmore, probably county residents as well, that the council would consider a way to collect information from citizens on what they want to see in our community. It is an election year, and I know you are all happy in your spots and hopefully you've registered to apply again or whatever the process is, but as it comes up, we know that our budgeting starts in February, March, so we can get it approved and ready, first round, second round, April, May. And last year we had some requests come through from the public, from different spaces and asking for different things, but we were told as a public that the council reviews requests for financial contributions or programs that the council should go into only from department heads. You might listen to what you hear here, but here presently in council meetings or the comments that you hear from the newsletter or feedback and things like that. But I think if we could really see, and you guys would really dive into what our community actually wants and what the citizens want and open some of that up and collect that information, then you can make some informed decisions as you're voted back in, and that way you can really stand up for your citizens on what we actually want to see in our communities and where the growth is and the priority levels that we would like to see as you're building infrastructure plans and things like that. So that's the first request through that, is listening to the public and providing us opportunities. And if you don't want to collect information at events, tell us how else you want us to tell you what we need and tell you where we would like to make budget requests. Personally, I love sidewalks and playgrounds, but that's the realm of life that I'm in. I love fields painted out at Centennial. I'd love a lot of things, but I'm only one person and I'm only one voice and I represent one specific body and group of people. But I'd love an avenue that's really clear, spelled out on where you want to hear information and comments and how that will actually be taken in and actually listened to. And then second, I don't know if we have a PR person at the city or who the person is that disseminates information, but this hearing or this meeting was so helpful to hear that we actually have somebody that is working on the stormwater, or that is working on putting a proposal together to then address the stormwater. But a lot of the information and a lot of things are passed around within our residents is we just don't know. We don't know what's going on, we don't know what's planned. And so my property where I live is Adventure Serve. We also had tons of flooding on it, and I'm not asking you to fix it, because there are other higher priority needs that I personally view. But if I knew that, okay, in 10 years, I know what's coming to me, then at least I know on a map it's tangible and I can hold on to that, knowing, okay, something's coming, so I can hold out. But kind of how Aaron mentioned, they were here before, they've had this flooding, that it floods 2 or 3 times a year, hoping that something's gonna happen. Hope only gets us so far. And I mean, we're at 2026 right now, and now's the time for us to actually make actions and communicate those actions to whatever you're doing, whether it's good, bad, ugly, whatever it is, share it with us as citizens, and I promise we will gripe at you a whole lot less if we know, and it's spelled out everywhere, all right, there's dirt around the splash pad and it's muddy because we're working on building this sidewalk, and then we're gonna put out benches. Like Amy did a really good job. She posted on all of the social medias out there, and there are other places than social media. Social media is its own trash hole, but people use it. And so we've got the newsletter, we've got social media, we have written word, we've got different places and public spaces that you can actually see and read the signs. And so if you can just communicate what you're doing, don't make us wait for the next, like, ooh, what's gonna happen next? That's where discontentment grows. If you tell us what's happening next, or at least what you're planning, then we can actually be happy about our community and stop griping to you about different things. So please provide us a space for comments that you'll actually listen to and consider, and then us provide information on what's coming up and what's happening in Wilmore outside of our super fun events, because those, well attended, you've got that on lockdown. So if you need to ask Miss Judy to help with some of the other parts, maybe we can pull her into those as well if she wants.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I like to look at the agenda online before the meetings. It's usually posted, several days before. So it is out there, it's just not on the trash holes sometimes.
I know, we hit them all.
Devin?
Briefly, I promise, but it's good to end on an optimistic and thankful note. Devin Marks, president of the Ginkgo Foundation. We're producing the Ginkgo Galore Festival and Arts and Music Festival in the fall, October 24. I come to you though to embarrass Mr. Fitch just a little bit more. Please forgive me. It's worth putting on the record that at our ribbon cutting, we recognize Mr. Fitch by naming an award in his honor called the Ginkgo Legacy and Light Award, which will be presented to a citizen in the wider Bluegrass region for philanthropic efforts and contributions. But each year, that award will tip its hat to Mr. Fitch, who, of course, as we all know, has left a legacy of generations of service to others, and is a light to all of us in the future. So, Mr. Fitch, thank you. I know that little award is little, but it comes from a big place of love from this community. And along those lines, in September, at the Mill Granary grounds, we intend to host a watermelon celebration to celebrate Mr. Fitch. So the whole community's invited to come out, and we're gonna work on the details with that. But wanted to get that on the record and not just be lost in a ribbon cutting display of photos. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Anyone else?